All right, so at the end of part one, we were left with this just epic philosophical showdown, right? Well, now we're in the space between. This is the interlude, the bridge from that massive conclusion to the, frankly, daunting new reality of part two. The rules for a whole new game are being written as we speak. So let's just dive right in.
So, this right here, this was Votan's final, monumental proclamation. I mean, think of it as a thunderclap that just rips through a ruined world. He's not just affirming his victory, he's affirming his willingness to live it all again, the good, the bad, the struggle, over and over and over. This one sentence, it's the engine that's going to drive everything that comes next. It is a commitment, a self-imposed sentence to an eternity of struggle and, yeah, isolation.
But here's the thing. After a boom that loud, you'd expect what? Peace? Resolution? Nope. What follows is what the source calls an authentic silence. It's this heavy, weighted quiet that just settles over the gray wasteland of the marketplace. This is not the silence of victory. Not at all. It's the silence of consequence. It's the sound of a world holding its breath, just waiting to see what in the world Wotan is going to do with all this power.
Okay, so let's dig into that. This thunderous verdict, and more importantly, its immediate price. Because what does it actually mean to win? To become the meaning of the earth? I mean, what's the real cost of absolute freedom?
And this is where the paradox really hits you. Look at this. Wotan stands in glorious isolation. He's done it. He's rejected the heavens, all external powers, to become the sole source of value. But what does he win? The earth he inherits is a gray wasteland, a desolation of obsolete delusions that he now presides over, completely alone. It's the ultimate power over an ultimate void. Think about it. A king with no subjects, a god with no worshippers. What do you even do with that?
But just as Wotan is maybe getting used to this new reality, bam, the game resets. The forces of negation, they don't just pack up and go home. Oh no, they evolve. So let's look at how the opposition comes back, because they are transformed, ready for a whole new phase of the wager. And Mephistopheles, he's not just a cynical commentator anymore. He's now an active player trying to bring Wotan down.
And meet the new challenger, Faustus, the Faustian Übermensch. Now this is not just another member of the herd Wotan already defeated. This is something else entirely. He's described as a dark mirror to Wotan's sovereignty. He's got that same godlike strength, but there's a huge difference. He's a powerful slave, completely driven by this bottomless, insatiable hunger for power and consumption. He's a black hole of ambition.
And this is the challenge Mephistopheles just throws down. The first wager, he basically calls it a comedy of human frailty. You know, easy mode. But this new challenge, the ongoing proof, is a whole different beast. It's a test of survival against an equal. A shadow that, and this is the key phrase, shares Wotan's own towering height. This isn't about raw strength anymore. It's a battle of wills.
So this really just lays out the core conflict for part two perfectly. You've got two totally opposing modes of the will to power. On one side, you have Wotan, the creator. He's trying to forge new values literally from nothing. And on the other side, Faustus, the consumer. He represents this hollow, power-hungry pursuit who only wants to consume what's left of the ruins. It's creator versus consumer. Wotan wants to build a new world. Faustus just wants to devour the old one.
Okay, so the board's been reset, the pieces have changed, and the rules? Yeah, they've changed too. This next stage is not going to be a straightforward battle. Not at all. It's a war fought with these new, terrifying metaphysical traps. And we're not talking about physical cages here. We're talking about cages for the mind. Traps designed specifically to ensnare a god.
So the first big new theme is what the source material calls warring with shadows. See, Wotan's fight is no longer against the weak, the herd. Now he's up against a twisted reflection of himself. It's this kind of cosmic horror scenario, where his greatest strength, his will to power, is literally turned back on him in this distorted, nightmarish form. It's a battle against his own dark potential made real.
And this is where Mephistopheles' new strategy gets really insidious. He's taken slave morality, the whole ethics of the herd that Wotan thought he'd overcome, and he's weaponized it. It's not just a passive weakness anymore. It's now an active, sophisticated, metaphysical trap that's been engineered for one purpose and one purpose only, to contain a god.
It's a whole system of values designed to make Wotan doubt himself, to make him question the very freedom he fought for.
So let's look at how this God-sized cage gets built. First, you've got Mephistopheles, who's not just watching anymore. He's an empowered tempter, an architect of failure. He's actively engineering this. Second, the world itself is being reshaped into a cage, designed specifically for Wotan. Which means third, Wotan has to defend his freedom not against simple human weakness anymore, but against an intelligent, sophisticated design. This is a custom-built trap, a cage that knows all of his weaknesses.
But beyond all these external threats, there's an even bigger challenge brewing. And that's the internal one. It's the personal cost of Wotan's victory, the sheer weight of what he has willed upon himself. Because the price of his freedom? It's eternal loneliness. And this is the crucial point, right? When Wotan willed the eternal recurrence, he wasn't just saying yes to that single moment of triumph. No, he committed himself to an eternity of this struggle, an endless, looping repetition of his glorious, but also incredibly painful isolation, forever. I mean, can you imagine? He's a god who is utterly alone, a king with absolutely no one to rule.
Which brings us to the central, burning question of Part 2. The source calls it the referendum on height. Can any being, even an Overman, really sustain this level of sovereignty through what has to be an exhausting repetition of existence? Or will the temptation of what's called the sweet oblivion of human comfort just become too much to bear? Will he start to miss the simple things, human connection?
So he is now the sole law of a silent planet. And the big unresolved question is, what's he going to do with all this power? Does he take on the immense back-breaking burden of building a new, harsh Olympus from the rubble, a whole new world based on his values? Or does his absolute freedom just result in him presiding over an empty, gray wasteland forever?
And that leads us to this really powerful image to think about. Wotan isn't the bow anymore, the thing that does the launching. He is the arrow of longing. He's pure momentum, just shot toward a horizon where the storms ahead are as vast and as terrifying as the terrible freedom he claimed for himself. And, of course, these aren't literal storms. They're storms of the soul, the endless fight against despair.
And that's where we have to leave him for now. Imagine a voyager who's finally sailed past all the familiar coastlines, finally escaped the land. He's out on the open ocean now, facing a horizon where there is no shore to return to. And there never will be. The new game has begun. And it's not a game of power anymore. It's a game of endurance. A game to see if even a god can survive an eternity of his own making.